Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you, and today I'm going to give you my top 5 rated strongest SARMs. But before we get into that, just a big shout out and thank you to everybody out there supporting the channel. You guys have been awesome. You see the growth of the channel. Please, if you haven't yet, like, share, subscribe, comment. Any interaction that you have, it's totally helping the channel to grow. It's greatly appreciated, and it's allowing me to produce more and more content for you each and every day. Also, today's video is sponsored by our good friends at letsgetchecked.com. Now, letsgetchecked.com specializes in at-home blood testing. It's so fast, it's reliable, it's discreet. All you have to do, go to the website, sign up, register online, pick out whatever tests you want. They do it all for men and women, full hormonal panels, wellness, sexual health. Anything that you could probably imagine that you want to get tested is on there. And if they don't have it, feel free to email the customer service and let them know it's something that you want to get added there, and they generally will respond and try whatever they can if it's something they believe, is needed. Now, pick out the tests that you want, order them. They're going to ship them to you very, very timely. Once you get them, provide the sample, ship them right back. You get your results quick. They're all online. If you have any questions or concerns, there's doctors and nurses there all the time to answer questions for you. And on top of that, use coupon code Gemelli30, and it's going to save you 30% off your entire order. Letsgetchecked.com, coupon code Gemelli30. All right. So, as I always say, this is just a Dylan Gemelli list. I do feel on this particular list that many of you are going to agree with me. Maybe not on the order, maybe so. I got good reasons for why I put things in the order that I am. But I also want to preface this when I say the strongest. Because a lot of people think and assume that strong only means how much size that you're going to get from that. That is not the entirety of how and what makes something so strong. Tren is the strongest steroid and is definitely not going to add the most size of any steroid. And if you listed a top 5 breakdown of strongest steroids, I bet you on 95% of the people that make that list, halotestin is going to be on there. And you know how much size you can expect from halotestin? Next to nothing. So size does not always determine how strong something is. It certainly helps and certainly can be a big part of it, but there's a whole slew of other things. Some things will get you so strong, halotestin, for example, far stronger than a lot of bulking compounds, for example. There's a multitude of things which I'm going to go through right now in terms of why I'm putting things where I'm putting them. Number 1 and 2 is going to be a prime example of that. So let's jump into this. Now, I always say this too, a lot of times, especially with SARMs, even with steroids, when we're ranking them, the tiniest minute details are going to separate even 1 to 5 at times. It's not always just a glaring, oh, this is stronger. Now, I will say this, number 1 and 2, I have always said that they should and are very similar and stronger than some steroids. And number 3 is arguable. It's kind of, but I'll give you my thoughts on that. So let's start with number 5, LGD4033. Now, that's been long time thought of as the strongest SARM until some of the newer, more mainstream ones came out, which I'm going to get into here shortly when I get to 1 and 2 especially, and 3. But it's really known as a bulking SARM. It's very good for strength, but it's kind of just in that realm. It doesn't do a ton of other things like some of these other ones do. It does, but not to the extent and the level. You don't look at LGD and go, oh, it does this, 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 and this. You kind of look at it and go, that's the bulking SARM. I'm going to get pretty strong. Not necessarily the strongest, but definitely for overall size, it's going to be high on the list. But that does not mean it deserves to be higher than I have it placed, in my view. Number 4, RAD 140 or 150. Either one, since they're very similar in terms of everything except their half-lives. So, RAD, and I have a video on this I made last year. I said it's the new king of SARMs because it's the most searched by far. It's the highest selling by far, and I've confirmed that with I don't know how many different SARM store owners or people involved in it that all tell me that, because I do a ton of research so I can give accurate information when I'm providing it. And I like to know the trends and what's hot and what's not hot and what people are doing and da-da-da-da-da, because that's really pertinent to the videos that I make. And a good, person that's giving out information is going to really dig in and get some good information, not some anecdotal nonsense or some assumptions. I like to really dig in and find these things out. And so that's why I made that video before, because I know RAD is awesome, but I didn't realize the extent of the popularity, which I love, because that tells me not people are looking at the entire picture, and they're looking at, wow, this thing does a lot. It's not just about the size. That's a deeper thinker, or somebody looking into it more, or somebody with a better understanding. But RAD 140 does it all. You're going to get strength. You're going to get lean muscle mass. You're going to stay lean, though, and it's going to be nice and clean. Some muscle hardening, some vascularity, help with endurance. It is extremely strong, and it has to be on this list. Number 3, YK11. And YK11, okay, so it's tricky because it's on that brink of where I would consider it a steroid, but maybe not quite to that level. But man, YK11 does it all. And one of the things, with it being a myostatin inhibitor, you do feel, I don't know, I felt a little different on it every time, and I feel like I got a ton out of it, and I was just making consistent gains, and it's a really, really strong compound. You're going to notice a good amount of polishing and muscle hardening with it as well. The strength through the roof. It's awesome. It's not quite to the level of 1 and 2, but it's a solid number 3 in my book. Now, 1 and 2, it's like, wow, I split the finest fucking hairs that you can split to pick 1 and 2, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm still going back and forth on this, but it's like, dude, you got to make a decision. So I'm going LGD 3303 for number 2. Okay, so I'm not saying that it's Superdraw. That's just not what I'm saying, but I want you to think about Superdraw, and what's one of the main draws to Superdraw? You can get massive on Superdraw, but it's so dry. It's so dry. It just comes with a slew of side effects, but you can't run it very long. But man, oh man, oh man. That's what I would say, that if you were going to say what in the steroid world would you say acts kind of like 3303, you're going to say Superdraw to it, because 3303 is, a lot of people claim to have water retention on LGD. I personally think that has a lot to do with diet, but I will tell you that 3303 is much. It's almost like, because one of my favorite combinations of just running 2 SARMs has always been S4 and LGD 4033, because they complement each other so well, because you're getting that good lean size and that more size with LGD, but that muscle hardening with S4. Well, 3303 is like both of those combined, except you getting stronger even with that alone than you would with those two. And those two are on my top list for best SARMs for strength. So 3303, extremely strong. The thing about it is, it 100% needs a full PCT, and I would have no problem, because I'm always careful to go, SARMs are going to give steroid results, because we know better. I'm not going to insult people, because I don't give out that type of false or presumptive information. We're going to talk reality here. But I have no issue putting number 1 and 2 up against several different steroids, pound for pound, strength for strength, and thinking or showing that you're probably going to get better results. Not when you get super high on the strength level, not anadrals and trends and things like that, but your anivars and your primos and your masterons and possibly even your equipoise. I got no issue putting 3303 or S23 up against them. Going, let's see which one's stronger. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think it's going to be damn close. Especially with the really light ones. So 3303, number 1, S23. Now, the reason that I put S23 ahead of 3303 is I just feel like it does a little bit more. It's going to give a ton of size, but when you're talking about the strength and muscle hardening that you're getting with this, and you're getting a lot of strength with 3303 and staying dry, but the muscle hardening, so S23, when it comes out, it's kind of like they always say, or people say, I hate to say they, and I always go, who the fuck is they? I have seen a lot of people out there, articles written, things on websites when they're talking about it, that it's like S4 is baby brother, meaning that S23 does a lot of similar things, but it's far, far stronger. And it's kind of true to an extent. But there's more capabilities. It's like when you run Tren and you just know it does everything. That's kind of like S23 in the SARMS world, but not anywhere near a Tren status. But that's kind of in the SARMS world. That's kind of what S23 would be like. But because it's got S23 has been called a male contraceptive because of how hard of suppression that goes on there. The thing that's different is that it's quickly recoverable, unlike a steroid. But when you're on it, it is just the most draining, suppressive compound. But you know what you get out of it could be argued. And if you're using it with test, that's the route that I would generally recommend. I don't love S23 without test. I really don't. Not that it can't be done, because it certainly can. But would be my preference on it. But however, the strength and the overall result on how you could probably come out looking, I just feel like it just does a skosh of a fraction more than 3303. But that is, up for debate, and I still go back and forth with it. But like I said, the beauty of this is that we can compare and contrast and kind of learn from each other and give opinions and kind of see what others think. Because that's how we learn in general, is by experience and speaking with others and learning from others too. Because you can't just go, well, this happened to me. Well, you don't know that you may be the anomaly out there, or be oversensitive to one thing, or be able to tolerate more than most. So you can't ever, ever, ever base it on just how you react when you're giving out facts. Of course you do when you're learning about how to run things and what to do, but not when you're just throwing facts out, because that's just not fair. And when I give you facts, I have to. There's several times where stuff that's happened to me doesn't even apply to those, but I know what the majority. So I've always been very careful about going, well, I did this. Well, yeah, I'm gonna. Everybody's naturally gonna throw that out there, and I'll always go, but in fairness, and I'll throw that in there too. You got to stay credible. You shouldn't be speaking about anything. But that's just what I think. And I do that with everything. I do it with sports. I talk about, I don't tell my wife, I'm going to be objective whether I like the person or can't stand the person. Because otherwise, what the fuck's the point of the conversation? When you know in your heart you're just lying or you're not being honest. So, I will always tell you guys how minute things are, what my views are, the proper experiences that most people report, etc. So that being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.